a Manchester review you got, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry it's a little late. I have been very sick lately. It's hard getting rid of this sore throat even though I've done all the things I need to do. So if I seem a little botchy, my throat is still bothering me even though I'm taking medication. I'll say this about this show. It was average. But average for TNA now is superior to TNA on Spike. We can clearly settle this right now. I am glad to see an average Impact. That is good. This was a solid Impact, but it was average. Let's look at the first match, and it's EC3 and Tyrus ow, versus a Spud and Anderson. Now, I was very worried that when Anderson came back, he would overwhelm Spud. But since it is in the UK, Spud is doing pretty well. The crowd is well loving him. They love them some Spud. Of course, he's from the UK, but he was already well over before he came back home. And now he's really over. They want to see him destroy the hardcore American icon in an EC3, ladies and gentlemen. I really didn't care much about Tyrus. I feel really sad because I really thought that Tyrus would do something interesting here, and he still feels like the Funkasaurus. He just does. It's bad enough he's still wearing the same clothes except the word says Tyrus across it. But that fucking beard he's carrying, and I think Josh really said it best. They shaved off that top part of his head, but he still got that big thicky beard. Unless that was Taz, either one. I don't care. They should have shaved the fucking beard off because he looks stupid. He really needs a tire revamping. And anyone can tell me below. Wouldn't it be interesting to see a Tyrus deal with a Abyss? I think I want to see a Tyrus versus an Abyss. I really do. Or you'd be crazy enough to team them together. Give two guys that are not really doing much something to do. Either to face each other or make them a tag team that makes it harder for people to deal with. I know it sounds crazy, but I am on medication, so I can be crazy. But the match itself wasn't bad. At the end, you get the gonads up into the Tyrus, and you get a Spud win that we really did need. I think it was a little overdue. I think he could have had this win at least 2 weeks ago. That's just me. But seeing that after it was over, and you go into the back, and you see EC3 with the clippers and trying to choke the shit out of a Spud, and then Anderson comes in just at the nick of time, was pretty corny. I think it kind of brought it down a little bit. If he had managed to weasel his way, and I'm talking about Spud, and then done it himself, would give him a lot more stronger of a character. But I can understand why they're doing this right now because they still don't believe Spud has the underdog strength to do it. He's not like the cartoon where underdog can fly around and do absolutely anything. So I can understand why they did this. A match that I just don't understand is why did they put this on the show? Really. And that is Robbie with a Angelina Love, who I love very much, versus a Brooke, who I believe is a pain in the butt bitch, even though she's probably sexy, can be sweet when she wants to be, and is really doing absolutely nothing. I know saying that she's a bitch, I'm going by what happened in Amazing Race. I know she probably is a nice damn woman, and that's probably true. But here I don't know what is irking me. This gives me the feeling of a bitch. And I'm thinking Robbie E in this respect because he's getting on my nerves like Brooke did in The Amazing Race. That's the reason why I use the analogy. Chris Melendez and Brooke Tessmacher should not be doing this. It's hard enough seeing Brooke, who should be doing something more substantial. She has the character, she has the beauty, she has the ring ability, but she's doing this instead of working with Terrence Terrell, Kong, and Gail Kim, who I'll be bringing up next. But then Chris Melendez, who, when Paul Heyman says this, and he says it best, accentuate the positives, hide the negatives. Chris working in the ring constantly was a negative. He just made people feel awkward. It doesn't mean people don't like him. It's just that seeing him in the ring constantly before was too much. And it made people feel awkward, like, ugh. I'm wondering, will he actually hurt himself more because he has that fake leg? He could actually hurt himself more. Oh, could he hurt somebody with that fucking fake leg? Should he really be wrestling? He just looks awkward in the ring. That's the things that are negative. You need to turn them into a positive. Turn him into a manager. He would actually get over more as a manager than he would being a wrestler. And once in a while, throw him in the ring as a wrestler. It actually would work if you make his character work in the respect of a manager. But since we don't have this, it just doesn't work. Crowd's behind him. But to be honest, seeing this objectively, he's just not really meant for being in the ring in the situation he's in. If he was doing exact Gowan type of thing without that damn leg, I bet you he would get over more. But since he's working in the ring with the leg, it just doesn't look right. And when it comes to the match, when it came to Robbie E dealing with Brooke, it just didn't feel right. And it was pissing me off. Robbie E was acting like Brooke on The Amazing Race to me personally. He was acting like a bitch. He was pissing me off. It was annoying. And then when he managed to win over Brooke, running around the ring just looks stupid. I don't know where they're going with this. I just think they're just letting them out there for nothing. And that pisses me off for two people who don't need to be there. And that's Brooke and that is Chris Melendez. Next, the match between Austin Aries and Samoa Joe. I'm going to say this about Samoa Joe. When you hear about Samoa Joe possibly leaving the company because he hasn't renewed his contract and they're still negotiating, does not make you feel good. But after seeing the match between him and Austin Aries, I can see why he shouldn't be there anymore. Because honestly, this match was not very good. Samoa Joe looked winded and he looked sloppy. And I mean, he hit and miss sometimes, but this match just looked really sloppy. It just did. And he did a good opening. He talked very well. He actually talked very well in the beginning of the show as well. But when you see this, he just looked terrible. But I understand why they did the match. I understand what happened afterward. The only issue I have is with Low Key. He looked like he botched that stomp. He really did. He should have broke the table, and he did not break the table. And I'm wondering if he did really stomp Austin Aries badly. Now, I'm hoping Austin's alright. But honestly, I wasn't happy to see that damn mess. That did not fill me with a lot of confidence. Now, a match that I understand that had to be there. But I can understand the reason why some people not like it. And that is Dar, I can't remember his name, Samuel Dar, I believe, versus Rampage Brown. Now, these guys are from British Boot Camp 2. I'm seeing disrespect between these guys and Guido. I'm seeing it in the respect to getting exposure. As much as no one likes Guido, and I know Fool Killer 99 does not like him, and I can understand the reason why. He didn't do a good job. He was acting like a jerk. He wasn't paying attention, but people like him. So money talks. If TNA can benefit from Guido being on their show and they make a couple of bucks, they're going to do it, and I understand them and I commend them for it. But I can understand why people don't like him. And seeing these two guys as jobbers were pretty much, the crowd would rather not see him as jobbers. I can understand the reason why, and it didn't really fill a lot of people with happiness. But I see it in respect that these guys got exposure and they got paid. TNA paid these guys. They didn't go in for free. They didn't do pro bono. So I'm very glad they did. And then seeing Bram get the entire spotlight because they're trying to build something between Bram and Magnus. And I said this before and I'll say it again. Put Magnus as a father. They brought Mickie Jane out. I don't know if she's going to come back to the business or TNA permanently or not. But bring her out for her man. Have him be a father that is trying to provide for his wife, soon-to-be wife, and his son. That actually will get over with the crowd to the point where as much as you may not like him, you might not think he's a very strong character, but people can relate. A man who's trying to work hard for his family and is willing to do anything for them. If he becomes a heel, or in this case he's going to be a face and he could be over good, it'll work. Now, the match of, I don't remember if, I think I did say EC3, and you see I'm pretty sick, so I'm sorry. If I didn't say anything about EC3 and Spud, I think I didn't. Just in case I didn't. When you look at the match, it was all about Spud. And I'm very glad they did do what they did with Spud. They did make it necessary to do what they did. I'm really sick, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. The last thing I'm going to talk about, if I'm forgetting anything, I'm really sorry. And that's the Lashley versus MVP. The opening of the show was pretty good with it. When it came to Angle dealing with Gunner, it was pretty well done. I'm actually glad it was done with Gunner. They wanted to do something to show that if he's going to be talking the way he is, and they're talking about Angle, you need someone to try and show Angle that he should be focusing on his job. But that also means they want to have Angle work with Gunner. And that's making me happy to see that Gunner's going to work with Angle. They may turn him heel. You never know. Or they may make him face. I don't know. But this was about trying to get Lashley over a lot, as far as I can tell, with this feud. And I don't think they did a very good job. I mean, they tried to hype up in the beginning of the show that Lashley's going to be dealing with MVP. In the middle of the show, when Aries got his ass kicked and he couldn't cash in his Feast or Fire briefcase. And then at the end of the show, when they started having the match. They were trying very hard to try and show that they got the deck stacked. MVP has the deck stacked. But honestly, he didn't. I really didn't feel like MVP had the deck stacked completely because of the loss at Lockdown. I'm sorry. It just didn't feel right that he lost at Lockdown. He just felt too weak to me personally. The match wasn't bad. I felt that the Beatdown Clan was too necessary. In other words, overkill. They shouldn't have put the Beatdown Clan in there so much. And then when you got Rude coming out, and you got Eli coming out, and then you got Gunner coming out, it was too much. The only thing I thought was a good step wasn't played on top of was Drew Galloway and him coming out, stopping the entire thing and allowing Lashley to win. Everybody else got in the way. And it should have been low-key dealing with Drew. You should have had Drew dealing with low-key. Not having to try and stop a... Well, Kenny King might be a good candidate for it, but the focus should be on Low-Key and Drew. But we didn't get that. Drew got the moment, but it just didn't feel like it was complete. And then Lashley didn't have his moment because I didn't feel MVP was a big of a threat. So when it came to the end of the show, it just did not feel strong enough for me personally, and it brought it down to an average show. If they had focused not as much of the Beatdown Clan on the fight, I think it would have been much better. And if it only been Drew that came out, no Eli, no Rude, and no Gunner, and it was only Drew who beat the shit a little bit out of a Low-Key because Low-Key drew blood because of him, I think it would have been a better show. But that's just my humble opinion. What is yours? And I hope you enjoyed the Zane view. Please give me a comment below. I will be doing my Bushwhacker debate of the week. I'm sorry it's a bit late. Like I said, last time I did a review, I was sick. I just can barely, my throat's still messed up. I really can't talk very well. So it's late, but I am going to do it, and you should see this after this Impact review. Have a good day and have a good night. Peace.